say, when I first stepped into learning and going to the Angel Reiki School, I definitely felt like a fraud. I felt there's just no way I can do this. I have intuition, I see signs, and I believe in signs, but there's just no way I could do it. And then I was truly amazed, Julie. You made it so personal at the time and you walked us through it so beautifully that by the end of it, I really felt confident that it was something that I could do and it was something that was meant for me to do. So thank you for that.
Welcome to the Angels and Awakening podcast, where we connect you with your angels, loved ones, and soul self. I'm your host and author, Julie Jancius. My journey began when I started hearing my late father before I knew he'd passed. Through my readings, membership, and Angel Reiki School, I help you awaken, heal, and master your unique spiritual gifts. If you feel called to work with me, it's your angels guiding you to discover your soul's highest purpose. Details at theangelmedium.com. Thank you, Earth Angels, for the 5-star reviews. You're entered into a drawing to win a free session. Now let's see what messages your angels have for you today. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Angels and Awakening podcast. And friends, today's podcast episode is about getting validation from the other side for other people. And friends, what you know I always tell you is that when you're bringing through messages for others, you want to make sure that you're doing it in a professional way, that you have some training, some background, because it isn't always just like light and frilly work. It's serious and people really rely on these messages. So I have 3 women who have gone through the Angel Reiki School and just have the most profound validators that they have gotten in their sessions for their clients. And I just know that their stories are going to knock your socks off, because when we were at the in-person Angel Reiki School, one thing that happened, it was June 2024, when we got to the Saturday night dinner, everybody goes, I didn't know if I was gonna get messages from the other side, but they're coming through and this is amazing. So my first guest that's here is Anastasia. Anastasia, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is very exciting.
Oh my gosh. Well, you and I were sitting down because you came to the spiritual retreat too. And we were sitting down talking, and you told this story about the sun, moon, and stars, and it just about knocked me over. So I can't wait to have you share this with our audience.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I was pretty knocked over when it happened. But I just want to say, when I first stepped into learning and going to the Angel Reiki School, I definitely felt like a fraud. I felt there's just no way I can do this. I have intuition, I see signs, and I believe in signs, but there's just no way I could do it. And then I was truly amazed, Julie. You made it so personal at the time and you walked us through it so beautifully that by the end of it, I really felt confident that it was something that I could do and it was something that was meant for me to do. So thank you for that. But I think the first story, one of the ones I love the most, is I had a friend of mine. She asked me to do a reading for her. And that's a little awkward because you know a lot about people and you're like, I don't really want to do this because I know so much about you. I don't know if I feel like I'm going to bring through things that are validators for you that I don't already know about you. But I said, all right, I'll do it. So I did it. And as the reading began, her sister came through. Her dad was going through Alzheimer's. He was in hospital, in hospice. And she was concerned that he was on his own. And I said, no, I feel like there's a sister with him. She's like, that's my sister. She passed. I said, oh, okay. And so then I started to get information about her sister and bring it through. And it was all validated. And it was coming through and she was thrilled. And, you know, it gets very emotional. And then at one point I said to her, what's with the jewelry? The sun, moon, and stars jewelry. Did she give you a piece of jewelry that had sun, moon, and stars on it? And she said, no, no, that's not right. And of course, when that happens, you always feel this pit in your stomach. You're like, oh, okay, let's just move on. And I could just feel the energy of her sister was so light and was so happy. And she was like fun loving and a bit of a trickster. And so we went through the reading. And when we were done, she said, I got to tell you, I feel so light, like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. And I said, you know what? Thank you for saying that. Because the only reason I even went down this path is because I want to help people. And, healing is part of this journey. So days went by and she sent me a text and she said, listen, I want to send you a picture of my sister. She's so loving and I want you to see what she looks like in person. And I said, oh, great. I would love to see that. So she sent me a picture of her sister during text. And I looked at it and as soon as I saw it, I could again feel that energy of laughter, of being a trickster, playing jokes and things. And I just wrote a text back and I said, she's got a beautiful energy and I can feel your love and I can feel her love and she's really special. And then she texted me back. She said, oh my God, look at her earrings. And I said, what? I look at her earrings and on her earrings were the sun, moon, and stars. And
Wow.
I was just like, what a beautiful validation. And it just connected in every way. She was definitely a trickster, obviously. And it also kind of validates the fact that there is no such thing as time on the other side. These things happen and are set up without time being in the way. So it's just really fun and interesting. And I love that story. And we both got a big laugh out of it. And I think that she feels closer to her sister than she's ever felt before since she's passed. So that really was a great feeling.
Anastasia. I mean, and that's it. That's that validation. And spirit is always going to come in these ways where they give you something so specific that you had no clue. You'd never studied all of her pictures or known that she had that in the earrings. You in fact like felt bad because when you don't get a hit, you're like, oh, well, then why are they bringing this through? I know that I'm getting what I'm getting. And to have it come full circle and the picture, she didn't even realize the earrings
Yeah.
were a part of the picture until after she sent it. You're right. Her sister totally had set that up.
Oh, totally. And it was just a really funny and special feeling. And it really, again, makes you feel like, okay, now I know I'm doing this because it actually does make a difference in people's lives. And then my second story was kind of funny. So I had been doing these readings and I don't generally get audible or visual things. I get just a knowing and then I do automatic writing. This one morning I woke up and I had this jingle in my head. It was an old jingle from the 80s. I was like, why am I hearing this jingle in my head? I haven't heard this jingle since I was a kid. So it's really weird. I'm like, oh, but it's about love and I want to buy the world a Coke and love. And so I said, okay, that's wonderful. I put it to the side. And then I was going out to dinner with my husband, his friend, and his wife. And I had never really sat down and had dinner and talked with them before. So we, as you do often as couples, you're like, oh, how'd you meet your husband? Like, what happened? He starts telling a story about how when he met his wife, his father-in-law was not so happy. He was like, I don't know if you're right for my daughter. I don't know if this is a good match. But in the end, he's like, oh, he really loved me in the end. And we got along great and it worked out really well. And here we are married for many, many years. So it was such a cute story. He's like, and by the way, he was kind of a somewhat famous guy. He was in Hollywood and he put together some of the most famous jingles. Like, I'd like to buy the world a Coke. And another jingle, I was like, oh my God. This is it. So I turned to his wife and I said, look, this is a little awkward, but I do readings and sometimes things come through. And I explained to her what had happened that morning. And she was just like, eyes pop open, mouth drops open. I'm like, so here's what I'm getting now. And I said, I hope you don't mind me sharing this with you. And she didn't. She said, yeah, let's go. So I gave her some more information and she just started to cry. I mean, she told me I was so close to my father and he was so special to me. And even though he passed many years ago, I still feel very connected with him and I feel like he's with me. And that was a beautiful validation for her to know. It's funny because his energy also had that sort of joy, fun loving, hey, I know you're going to see my daughter and I'm getting this message through.
That's hysterical. Well, and this happens all the time. And what I don't think that people realize is that, yeah, you can be intuitive, but once you develop your gifts, you learn to really like live in a lifestyle with where this is the norm, right? Like just yesterday, I had a dream and I woke up a little early. You know how you wake up sometimes maybe like 4:30, and then you fall back asleep and you wake up an hour later to really get up? Well, I woke up, I went to the bathroom and I go, oh, that was a weird dream I was having. The people in the backyard took down their back fence and they have a pool back there. I was like, but I really liked it because I wanted to see the pool every day. And it was beautiful to just see the pool in the backyard. And also all along my manifestation wall, I've got a pool in the backyard, but I don't think it's something that we really want. I don't want to keep up with the work of a pool. So I came home from getting groceries and their fence was down and they were working on the fence. I go, oh, okay, spirit, like, thanks for the heads up. When does that ever happen? It happens all the time when you just allow spirit to guide your life, direct your life. And you're really living a sign led life, a story, angel story led life.
If you're called to do this work and you feel like this is part of your path, your spiritual path, I mean, like, dip your toe in, give it a try. It's really something that brings a lot of joy in my life now, something I never thought that would be in my personal path. What I love that you always say is God only brings through loving, positive messages. And that's all I've ever received. I think that's really important.
Here's our free and paid upcoming events. Angel Reiki School is in person November 8th through 10th in Chicagoland, or begin online November 1st. My new course, Release Fear and Embrace Miracles, starts November 1st online. Become a member to get this course free, or it's $133 for non-members. We have a free workshop October 23rd at 8 p.m. Central on how fear is really holding you back. And join our free prayer meeting right before that at 7 p.m. Central. Sign up for all of this and more at theangelmedium.com/events. Thank you, Anastasia. Thank you so much for being here. And then we're also here with Leslie and Tamra. Leslie and Tamra, welcome and thank you so much for being here.
Hey, Julie, thanks for having us.
Of course,
Thank
of
you.
course. So Tamra went through our 8-week online Angel Reiki school. And then some people know I have an extended 1-year Angel Reiki school that you can roll in afterwards. If you just want to work with me all year, have me teach you about getting your business set up. And when you go through the 1-year program, I also certify people as a spiritual teacher because it's much more in depth on how you coach people to get your clients spiritually where they need to be. Tamra, I know that you have a story that you were telling me about after you went through the program and doing a session for someone that you know. So I just thought that this was the biggest validation that you got as well.
Yes, it absolutely was. And I think the biggest takeaway or the biggest key for me was learning that the signs and messages that you get are not for you, because that really helped me get through a lot of my practice sessions. And then, when I did start having other sessions as well, I think it was about 2 to 3 weeks after I finished the 8-week course. I was trying to figure out what to do next. I did roll into the 1 year and I'm starting to think about a business, but not sure what to do. And I was meditating on it. And my meditations at this point had been very intentional. And then one day I thought, you know what? I'm just going to be quiet, spirit. I'll shut up. What do you got for me? Right. And I just sat there and just listened. And all of a sudden, this family friend of mine, he had passed maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, was very close, like a father figure to me. I saw his face and I just hear, hi, Tams. And I got this jolt of excitement and joy. And then all of a sudden I got very sad and was sobbing on the couch where I was meditating, and just, I just felt him. And I was so sad because he passed unexpectedly. I said, hi. And, he was like, I need you to tell my wife that I love the flowers. And he flashed a picture of these pink and what I perceived as like a light pale blue, maybe even purple flowers, and then a picture of their kitchen. And I was like, wait, I'm sorry, what? And there was some confusion there, right? Because I just finished certifying. I'm still dealing with the, is that me? Is that my brain? Am I making this up, or is this spirit? Is there something else here? And so the, belief was still a little rocky, to be honest. And so he said, tell my wife I love the flowers. Tell her I see her, I hear her, and I love her. And I thought, well, that's really vague, but okay, sure, okay, so I just accepted it. And it's one of those moments where after I finished meditating, it's like you're about to go into your boss's office to have a really important talk. You're kind of you stand up and you've got the jitters and you're like trying to pump yourself up, like, okay, I need to make this phone call, and this is really personal because it's close to me, and also somebody that I love, a family friend that I've known since I was really little. So I finally get up the courage and I call the family friend, and I hey, I know this is going to sound crazy, right? Which is how we start off a lot of these conversations sometimes. But I asked, have you gotten any flowers lately? Do you have any pink flowers? And I stuck with pink because that was the most prominent one. And it was not as specific as the blue, pale blue. I said, have you gotten any flowers in your house lately? And she said, why? And I said, okay, well, let me back this up. And then it was coming out of the spiritual closet to her, right? By the way, I got my Reiki certification, and it turns out I think I'm a medium as well. And, just like verbal vomiting all over her. And meanwhile, I'm like, stop, this is not the point. The point is delivering the message. And so I told her, I said, your husband came through and I got this image of these flowers, and he told me to tell you he loved them. And Julie, she was like, oh my God, Tam, I just picked those flowers from our garden. I think she said he and her had planted, and she put them in the house just a day or two prior. And I said, okay. And I also saw the kitchen, and she's like, well, I have them in the dining room table. And so I just kind of thought, okay, well, maybe that's just something separate, right? I didn't pay any attention to it. And then I told her, I said, he also said to tell you, I see you, I hear you, and I love you. And she just starts crying, and she said, Tam, I've just been trying to talk to him and I can't. I feel like he doesn't hear me. Maybe he's upset with me for something. I think that she also would, maybe thinking about starting to date. And so there was some, concern about that. And so it made perfect sense that he was saying, I see you, I hear you, I love you, because he really was. And I think she needed that validation at the time. Later on, she sent me a picture of the flowers, and there was pale blue in there, like this light purple color. So I was like, I should have said that. But, again, it's that, it's that self-doubt that we have when we're first starting out, right? And the kitchen, it was really interesting because it was as if he was showing me the view of the kitchen from where the vase was. And I was like, oh my God, well, that makes perfect sense. The interesting thing there was, as I was having this conversation with her, because we talked for several minutes after that, and I kept hearing, you need to offer her a session, you need to offer her a session. And I ignored it. I was like, no, not yet, like one thing at a time. A few weeks later, I was meditating and he came to me again. Same thing. Hi, Tams. And I got really excited and then really sad. So he said, you need to offer my wife a session. And my immediate response was, nope, not ready. That's way too soon. This is way too close to home. I'm not really sure if I'm ready for that, because it was someone that I know and she knew, and that's her husband. And I was having, some bits of self-doubt. And I took a few days to think about it. And actually, in the 1 year, the one thing that we had access to was the monthly grief and loss support group.
Yeah, in the membership where we have a monthly meeting for those who have just lost somebody. We have a regular meeting on Wednesdays at 7 for everybody in the membership, but then once a month, There are a lot of people in the membership who have lost somebody and are just really grieving, whether that was 8 years ago, 10 years ago, because they had to kind of get through wrapping up all the process of losing somebody and wrapping up their estate and everything. Grief can hit us at different times. And so, yeah, we have that meeting once a month, spiritually healing through loss.
Right. So it was that you had, I think on the calendar, that was like in a day or two. And I thought, I need to go to that meeting because this is an area that I just hadn't quite understood from the spiritual side. And if I was even going to consider doing this session, I needed to learn a little bit more. And it turned out to be great. When you lose someone unexpectedly, so close to you, your vibration drops so low that spirit tries to come through and they can't reach you. And so what they'll do sometimes is go to somebody whose vibration is just a little bit higher at that time, and they'll try to communicate through that person. And so they're like, you're that person and he's coming to you for a reason, which was what I needed to hear. Again, it takes me out of my egoic mind, brings it back to, this is not for me, right? None of this is for me. And so I ended up texting the wife and I just offered it as, hey, I'm still learning, I'm practicing, do you mind doing a volunteer session for me? So I didn't feel the pressure of not providing unreasonable expectations from her side. And what he had showed me when he told me to ask her for or offer her a session was a red rose. And so when I sent her that text, I put in that red rose emoji and I was like, I'm just going to leave that there. And if I have to bring it up later, I will. But otherwise, I'm just going to put it there as, just part of his message. So we had set up a time. And for whatever reason, we had to postpone twice, which was probably the best thing for me because I was in my head and I was very nervous. And I think having to put it off for a few days was really good for me. But we did eventually have a session. I'm not kidding you. The moment I connected with her crown chakra, he just boom, came through and I felt it. And before I could say, he's here, she felt it on her end. And she was just like, oh my gosh. And it ended up being a wonderful session. It gave me so much joy to make sure that to help somebody else, and it also was a huge milestone for me in validating and just learning how to trust myself and understanding. I think spirit challenges us. And there's a lot of times where I know it's spirit telling me to do something because I don't want to do it. And not because it's a bad thing, but because it's pushing me out of my comfort zone. But also knowing that they wouldn't put us in those positions if there wasn't a reason for it. And it's not about me, it's about the other person, right? So it was fantastic. And I think you teaching us to trust ourselves and whatever we see, convey it. Signs are not for us. So once the session completed, I felt a lot more comfortable explaining to her that her husband had come through prior to and had asked me to specifically offer her a session. And when he did that, he sent me an image of a red rose, which is why I had texted it to her when I originally proposed the reading for her. And it's funny because she said she didn't really pay attention to it, but she went back through her text messages and saw it. And it was incredibly meaningful to her because he frequently gave her red roses throughout their entire relationship. And so again, it's just another piece of information that is incredibly helpful for the person receiving the reading, but also for me as, someone who's still learning, gaining confidence and growing as a medium.
So one of the things that the angels have been channeling lately is that it's not an imposter syndrome. It's that all of our souls have to grow and evolve. But a lot of us human beings get to a point where we just want so much from our heart to do good for others, that we don't want to be wrong or bad, that we end up not really liking change or coming into change because change itself, and they said, look at the clock and it's 3:33 here. Change itself is hard. And a lot of us don't want to do something until we know that we're perfect at it and we're going to do the best that we can for other people. So I think that there's an element of that when you learn anything, that you're really just wanting to do the best. But what the angels say is that you can't do any good for others if you're not willing to start somewhere and try something new and allow yourself to get better and better and better and better at it. Because what I can tell you for certain, Tamra, is that what happened with this message coming through from the family friend, first off, the energy, you said it twice. And I just want you to recognize this because I want you to see it for what it truly is. That when his energy came in and he was like, "Hey, Tams," you felt really excited and then really sad. And the angel said to tell you it specifically that a lot of energies that we bring through from the other side, the energy that we feel within us doesn't change. It's like when I hear, what is that called? Shoop. Who sang Shoop back in the day in the 1990s? Here I go, here I go, here I go again, girls. What's my weakness, men? Okay, that I could sit there and sing the entire Salt and Pepper. How could I forget that? Salt and Pepper. When you hear that song in the car, my reaction never changes. The energy that I feel is just so happy. Oh my God, my favorite song is on. I could sing this a million times. I remember going back to like 7th grade and hearing that song and being at a sleepover, and we just played that over and over and over and over again on the CD player till we knew all of the words, right? It's a feeling that you get that also brings memories in at the same time. And so I wanted you to notice that just like there's a certain song that can come in and make you feel something, when certain people come in from the other side, there's an energy that's just there. And that energy will always be there, that excitement and that grief of, oh, I still want them to be here with us in this physical plane. I was just out to lunch today with a friend, one of my best friends, and I was talking to her about the book that I'm working on. And I was telling her how spirit is really kind of bringing through the information from the second book into the third book, but not in a way where it's just teaching, where it's all stories so that people can learn through stories all that they need to understand. She goes, "Well, Julie, that makes so much sense because in the Angel Reiki School, what you're doing is having people feel something. They have to feel it in order to learn it. They can't just read it and learn it." And I go, "Oh my gosh, that's so true." And then she kept going. She's like, "It's like riding a bike. When you're riding a bike, you get on the bike the first time without training wheels and you teeter totter and you kind of have to learn this physical energy within your body and how to hold your energy to stay on the bike, drive it straight and not wobble off or fall off." And I was like, that's so true. And that's exactly what it is. When it comes to the Angel Reiki School, there's definitely stuff that I've written down, but I teach in a way where you have to feel all of it. Because when you feel into all of it, you're feeling into energies, and one sugar cube of energy can hold all of the knowledge of the entire Library of Congress. That's how much it holds. And it brings in all of these different things. So, Tamara, I love how you said it and what you said, because it's so true. Once you feel this and you learn all the different ways to develop all of your gifts simultaneously, you're not just focused on the mediumship aspect. You know how to deliver the message. You know how to deliver what he needed his wife to know. Or, in Anastasia's case, what her sister needed her to know through the different signs and symbols that are coming through. And I think that that's just so cool and so special.
Yeah, it was an amazing, I mean, every session, I feel like there's always an amazing experience, like a little nugget in there that you remember from every session that you do. And it just helps you grow. And you're right. If I hadn't felt his energy those 2 times, and it was so specific to how I always felt around him, I probably would not have pushed through that barrier and just done it, right? It would have been, no, there would have been more hesitation, I think. And so you're right, you have to feel it. And it is that balancing act of not falling off of a bicycle, right? Getting that balance.
I love that, Tamra. Leslie's here too. Hey, friend.
Hi.
Okay, so Leslie and Anastasia were together at the June 2024 in-person Angel Reiki School, and Anastasia's still here with us. So I'm just going to ask you both this. When I was saying that last piece about like riding the bike, obviously you get that through the energy and feeling what you need to feel online. I thought it was so special though to have that bonus energetic piece of being in person. I mean, it was like magnifying the love that you feel every day by a million. And that's the room's energy that we were in all weekend.
And I think one of the things too is that when you do it online, it's always a fear about getting volunteers. So when you do it in person, you have all the volunteers there and they're all learning too. And that really changed things for me, at least. That was really a game changer. Yeah.
And people should know too that they can start the Angel Reiki School anytime. It's designed so that if you want to come in person, you absolutely can. But when you sign up and you pay online, like you could get started today. And on the first of each month, we start a new class. So if you got registered today, the first of the next month, we just get you connected with your class and you begin the 8-week online program. And then you just attend the next in-person one that you can. The other thing that I was going to tell people is this is one of the hardest energies as a teacher, Leslie, because the other side, like the flip side to getting volunteers from the teacher teaching the student is this. When you want to do this and serve others, at some point, you're going to have to find the courage within to reach out and find other people to serve, whether that's like calling a local nursing home and volunteering, or you starting a business and getting clients into the door. And so what I've found as I've surveyed people over the years is that people have such an easier time getting that courage in the program and finding their volunteers through the 8-week online piece than when they leave and they're like, I've never gotten a volunteer before in my life. I've never gotten a client before in my life. How do I do this? And so I hope that you know that the program too is designed to teach you how to get all of those volunteers and show you the way. All of that information's in there so that when you go out and start your business, you know how to do it too.
Yeah.
I think what's the in-person was really special. You could learn it online, and I was learning because I started in May and I went in June. But when we went in June, it was like supercharging it. Like all of a sudden that energy just sort of filled you. And like you said, Leslie, that camaraderie of feeling less vulnerable really allowed us to sort of step forward much faster.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So I've been practicing ongoing since I left the in-person, and then I also joined the 1 year, and really that's been a game changer too. I guess I had a really fantastic reading, and it was my mother who was a skeptic who did not want to be a part of this when I first started all this journey.
That's nerve-wracking.
It was very nerve-wracking because she was one of my first ones that I practiced with when I came home, and she was blocking me so hard I couldn't pick up anything. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. So I've been practicing, I've been working, I've been doing readings. And about 3 weeks ago, she says, I'm ready for you to do a reading. Because I told her I'll never do a reading on you until you're ready for me to do a reading on you. And I've mentioned my mother's dealing with stage 4 stomach cancer right now. So she has a lot of fear and anxiety going on. So I did. I had to take a few minutes and I called out to my dad and my spirit team. And I said, hey guys, I know this is my mother. Y'all know she's not sure about this, but bring me stuff that I would not know from her. I want it to be that's very validating for her. It was kind of funny because I said, well, Dad is bringing in, he's something about your wedding that when you and Dad got married, and he's laughing hysterically about it. Did something happen during your wedding? That because I wouldn't know that. I wasn't even born yet. And she started laughing and she said, yeah, she says his best friend showed up and parked the car right outside the door and came in and said, hey, Richard, if you want to rethink this decision. I have the car ready. We'll book it out the door. And so I started laughing. And so that was really amazing. And then my dad showed me a rolled up newspaper. And I said, Dad showing me a rolled up newspaper. What does that mean, Mom? I had no idea. She's like, well, when y'all were little, we needed some extra money. And so your dad and I decided to do a paper route. And we'd get up at 3 a.m. and we would roll the papers and go toss them before y'all woke up. I didn't know any of that. And I was like, oh my God, that is just amazing. My mom's best friend had passed away a couple years ago. And I said, Anne is coming through. And I said, she's mentioning something about grandkids. Are you something on your mind, Mom? What's going on with, in regards to Anne? And she said, well, I just can't help that she died before she got to enjoy her grandkids. And it just breaks my heart. That's all I can think about. And that's what I'm worried about is missing that time with my grandbabies. And I said, and I knew, Anne sent a very clear message. She told me to tell my mom, hey, guess what? You're not going to miss anything with the grandbabies. In fact, you're going to get front row seats. So the one thing that you're worried about more than anything is not at all what you should be worried about, because you're going to get to see them front row. You're not going to miss a single thing, and you're going to get to guide them. And so let that piece go and stop thinking about you're feeling bad for me that I passed early. I'm not missing anything. So that was magical, and my mom needed to hear that. And then I asked my mom at the end, which is what I learned after the, in person, the 1 year, okay, is there anybody that you wanted to hear from that you didn't hear from? And my mom said, I would like to hear from my sister-in-law, Carol. I didn't know Carol. I maybe met her a couple times when I was a kid. They lived in a different state. And I said, okay. So I called in Carol. And I said, we invited her in, and sure enough, she popped in. I said, well, she's showing me a card table, that with cards sitting at one of those little small tables. Does that resonate with you? And my mom started laughing. She goes, oh, we played cards for years and years and years as we were, when we were younger. And I said, well, was she a smoker? Because has a cigarette in her mouth. And she's like, oh, she was a chain smoker. And I'm like, okay, well, she's here from you. So it was a phenomenal reading. It was wonderful, and I was so worried about it. Like always, we, like Tamara said, we're worried about, can we do this? Can we do this? And there comes a time in the training where it's like there's nothing to stress about, because they're going to send it to you or they're not. You're going to get the message, and there's nothing you have to worry about. It's like you're just there to pass it along. So that was really, really great. The online, I started like Anastasia, I started ahead of time. And so I got my feet wet a little bit before I went to the in-person. And I remember showing up to the in-person, and I remember sitting in the hotel room before we met. And I remember thinking, what am I doing here? Like, this was so crazy. Like, why would I do this? Like, I don't know if I can do this. And then I get down there, and after spending the weekend with all the ladies, I thought, wow, I need to do this. Like, I need to do it. And then I signed up. I extended the 1 year, which was a game changer, because that's really it's taken me to the next level, because now you get to a certain point where, okay, I'm ready to start my business, but what do I do? So, you've walked me through. I've got my website up and going. I've got my Instagram up and going. I made my cards, and now I'm already gotten through the business model on how I need to do that. And you've walked me through that, and I've kind of been able to pinpoint what areas I want to do and what I don't want to do. But more importantly, as you're doing readings, you're going to have some hard readings. And I did last week, where I got off there and I lay down, and I'm thinking, this didn't go so well. And I thought, wait a minute, I beat myself up. And I thought, wait a minute, this is a learning. This is what Julie says. Go back, meditate about it, learn from it. What could I have done better? And so that's where the 1 year really comes into play, is it helps you navigate those situations, the difficult ones.
Where you can
And
also
so,
come in on Saturday morning still for an entire year and bounce different stuff off. Like, you could come in on this Saturday and talk about that, and we could kind of go through, because I think the more information that you have, the more empowered you feel. And there are, like, I would say, out of a year, if I'm doing 1,000 sessions in a year, there's probably 3 where you're like, That was
Yeah.
not how I wanted that to go. And sometimes it's the person's energy. This is why I tell people on the podcast, if somebody really wants to come in for a reading, awesome, encourage them. If they don't want to come in for the reading, please don't pressure them to come and see me, because if you do and they don't want it, they're not receptive of the messages, it's going to be much more hard for me to bring them through, because it's kind of like the reader is talking to a wall and it's harder to guide them. Also, there are some readings that come through where a lot of the information that you're bringing through, it just hasn't happened yet for the person. So I know I've told this story before, but it's just one that the angels keep bringing to my mind, of the woman where I did her reading and Spirit was like, are you testifying in front of Congress? Like, I kept seeing that visual. You could see it, the senators sitting up and then the person at the table and the microphone right in front of them and the cameras. This woman got off the phone with me and she told me later, she's like, Julie, I've had how many readings with you? And I thought that you had lost it because I didn't know what you were talking about. But she emailed me a month later and she goes, Congress called and they asked us to testify in this instance that happened to her family, to create safety measures that help kids stay safe and secure in cars. And she goes, so I knew that when that call came, I didn't need to be nervous or say no, and that it was meant for me and her husband to really go to Washington and help fight for that change. But it's not something that you can know. You get into the session and you're just doing the session like any other session.
I had that session a couple weeks back and it was crazy because I did a reading and the brother came through and I said, well, he's going to be sending you signs, of hearts. Just keep a lookout for it. She's like, I never really noticed any hearts, but okay. I get a text message from her about 4 days later saying, you're never going to believe this, but I went to a yoga class that I've never been to. I just wanted to try it out and it was great. And I love the instructor. I go back 2 days later. It's a different instructor. And she's like, I was going to leave. She goes, I just didn't want to do it. She goes, but I decided, okay, I'll give it a shot. Well, one of the exercises in the yoga was they were laying on their back and the instructor had them use their feet to draw hearts for an entire song.
I've never even heard of that happening.
I know. I thought that was funny.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, I just have one more question for you. Maybe Anastasia, you could go first. I know that you have only recently all gone through the Angel Reiki School, but do you feel like the Angel Reiki School has changed your life in any way, or getting these validators, or maybe it's changed the way that you connect with spirit and your own spirituality?
I've always been sort of a religious person. I'm Catholic. I think this has actually made it stronger in so many ways because it's not just one dimensional. It has so many dimensions now. It's not just about one part of God. It's about there's so many, and there's so many things that we just don't know. And that's the magic of being here and knowing that there is something else beyond this.
So give you more confidence and strength than that?
Absolutely. I sleep a little better, I must say.
That's amazing. Friends, I just want to thank you for sharing each episode with your friends. Because of you, we've hit nearly 10 million downloads a year. Wow. As a thank you and gift, please enjoy my free 31-day angel success formula at theangelmedium.com so you can start connecting with your angels today. And please share today's episode if you've enjoyed it and tag me at Angel Podcast.
Anastasia, it's so funny you mentioned magic. This came up in the retreat. And so I'll say it again. When you're a kid and you go to a magic show and the magician is on stage and it's something that you see on stage and you think, wow, that's so cool. Their magician, sleight of hand magician is performing all of these wonderful tricks. It's just magical to you. And then now I feel like my perspective has completely shifted. And I realize like the magic's not over there on the stage. It's here and we can do it every single day. And with these small signs, synchronicities, messages that, I just took for granted before because I thought it was just my brain. It's truly magic. And it just totally like shifts your perspective on everything. And it's so exciting and it's so fun. And it just gives life a little bit more, excitement, joy. I'm excited to see what's going to happen next.
What about you, Leslie? Has the Angel Reiki School changed you?
Oh my gosh, has it changed me? I told my husband in a year times I'll be doing this full time. So I'm focusing on getting there. So yes, I feel like I've always felt like I was supposed to be doing something else. Like things just weren't sitting right. Like there's more that I should be doing. There's more of an imprint I should be making, especially with girls and women and finding themselves. So yeah, I feel like I finally found my purpose. I'm excited. I'm so excited.
I love that. And I love that you're going to be doing this full time within 1 year of
Uh,
starting. The other thing that I really wanted, and maybe you can just kind of touch on this real quickly, but I wanted the Angel Reiki School to be different from other programs where we all create this community and we're not just one person going out and doing the work, but it's lonely to be in your house working on your own business constantly, but that you have a network of other women. I've only had 2 men go through the program. Happy to have more men come through the program, but really, we've had almost 600 people come through the Angel Reiki School. You have a network to connect with, and I think it makes life so much more fun to go through with these other women.
yeah, it's been really nice being able to reach out and get somebody's opinion about your website, or you had a bad reading, or what do you think about this? And I love that.
I'll second what Leslie said. It's so nice, when you are starting a business. Julie, you give a pretty good outline and blueprint of, hey, these are the major milestones that you need to hit to kind of get started. And then it's tough. You got to market yourself. You got to push yourself out of that comfort zone. It's like, good God, I just pushed myself out of, this other spiritual comfort zone, and now I got to do marketing. And so there are, several challenges that you've got to overcome. And having a support group is massive, and bouncing ideas off of one another and understanding the little nuanced things that you otherwise would just have to Google incessantly to try to navigate. And so I've really appreciated the support in the 1 year, in the 8 week as well. But the 1 year, especially when you decide to kind of level up a little bit in the business world.
I love that.
Thinking.
And you know what? And it's aligned, I guess we could say marketing. One thing that the angels say, I know I've joked about this before. I was on stage one time and the angels just brought this through and I started laughing to myself because I was like, oh, that's pretty good. They go, Jesus didn't just stay at home and not do anything. Jesus had 12 disciples who went ahead to different towns, got the towns going before he arrived, and said, Jesus is coming. He's coming on Saturday. He's going to be down by the lake doing miracles. Want to get a healing? Want to do this? Come on down. And so it's not like marketing in a way that you're trying to sell someone something. It is, you're putting out a service. And that's why I try and teach everybody too, is if you can't do anything, the podcast is here for you to listen to. And I try and bring through the max benefit on the podcast. And it always makes me feel so happy when people say, Julie, you bring through so much on the podcast that you should charge for. And I'm like, no, people need access to this. But the Angel membership is different. And then there's this other service that we offer of the Angel Reiki School. And that's where you can really learn how to develop. I wish I wouldn't have just called it Angel Reiki School because it's not just Reiki. Energy is the secret language of the universe. And like I said, what Reiki doesn't teach you, traditional Reiki, is that 1 cube of energy in front of you can contain all of the information that's in the Library of Congress, all of those books. And so what I have to do in my job as a teacher in the Angel Reiki School is open you up to how do you access that information in the energy itself. That's why the name Reiki is in the program name, because you're understanding the language of the universe of energy and how to access information, memories from that. But it's also about mediumship. How do you connect with people's loved ones on the other side? And then it's really too about becoming an angel messenger and how you step into your power of bringing through the messages for the angels on their behalf. And that's something where you, in our day and age, can be in your home, get groceries from Amazon, get everything from Amazon, and never leave your house. But the angels say that we're here for so many different reasons. One, to live different experiences. Your soul, if it's on earth, no matter why you're here, wants to have certain experiences. Part of that experience is to serve others. Part of that experience is to just enjoy this world and your life and your family and make memories. The other thing is to connect heart to other souls. And Spirit is calling so many people to step into their role as a messenger, as a healer, as an intuitive. And there's no other place where you can develop all your gifts simultaneously, like the Angel Reiki School, which is why I created it and put it out here to everybody. But it really is the place where you can do that work. And once you're trained, you know for forever how to ride that bike. It's like reading, how to read a book. Nobody can ever take that away from you. And you have a skill where if you want to start a business, you absolutely can. And it can become your full-time business if you do the work to get it to that point, which I give you the blueprint of how I did that just in the 8-week online Angel Reiki School. And then there's a lot of people who come through the program who say, Julie, I don't want to start a business, but I do want to develop all of my gifts to the max. And they're able to in the Angel Reiki School. So Tamara, Leslie, Anastasia, I am just so grateful to you. I'm so grateful that I get to connect with your hearts in person, gotten to connect with all of you this year. And I just love each one of you so much. Thank you for taking the time to be here today.
Thank
Happy
you.
to be here.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Julie.
And to everybody listening, if you want to join the Angel Reiki School, you can start today. I'm telling you, you can go over to theangelmedium.com. You can register over there. Just go to theangelmedium.com, the Angel Reiki School page. Do you want to start today with the program and the 8-week program? Do it. On the first of the next month, we'll connect you with the ladies in your class, and then you can take the next in-person Angel Reiki School as well once you get signed up today. We're going to do this November 8th, 9th, and 10th. That's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 2024, November 8th, 9th, and 10th. And then we're also going to do this, I believe it's April 11th, 12th, and 13th. So it'll be Friday night, Saturday, and then Sunday until noon, both in the fall and in the spring. And then we're going to keep this pace. We're going to do this twice a year, once in the fall, once in the spring, where we get together for the in-person Angel Reiki School. So start anytime online and join us in person when it resonates for you. Love you so much, friends, and thank you for being here today. If you feel called to become a certified angel messenger, energy healer, and medium, join my Angel Reiki School to learn all 3 at once. I'll also give you my secret sauce for building a successful, sustainable spiritual business. We're in person November 2024 and April 2025, or start the Angel Reiki School online on the first of the month. For personal messages from your spirit team, book a one-on-one reading with me. New slots are released monthly via email. Join my membership to grow spiritually, heal deeply, and connect with your angels for daily guidance and support on your personal journey. Visit theangelmedium.com/contact if you'd like to chat about which program would be best for you. Now, take a deep breath. tune into the loving presence of your angels and ask them, how would you have me be of service, experience joy, and open my heart to abundance today? And let them whisper answers to you all day long. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you back here Thursday with a brand new episode.